Hey everybody, welcome to the Labor Day Dirtcross Drivers Meeting 2021.
I'm Katie.
I'm Keto.
And we're just going to talk through hopefully everything you know to have a really great, fun weekend. There's a little bit of extra information to be prepared for this one. So even if you're a seasoned rallycrosser, please just take the time to listen to it all the way through so you also are prepared. This drivers meeting consists of two parts, us talking. And then there's an additional video, it's called Rallycross Cone Basics. It's linked in the comments of this video. It's also on our YouTube channel. It just talks you through how to read cones and also how to call them in when you're working the course. And we will get to that. For this event, there are two parts. Well, it's a 2-day event. Each class races one of the days, Saturday or Sunday. And then you have the option to sign up for fun runs. So if you signed up for fun runs, you have 2 full race days. You will race one day and then have a fun run day where you have both a work assignment and racing as well. So plan accordingly. In the driver's meeting, in the driver's email, it lists out who runs what days. So be sure to take a look at that, show up on the right day. Let us know if you have any questions. When you get to the course over the weekend, either day, you will sign a waiver at the gate. You'll pay a $10 fee directly to the venue, cash only, please. Anyone that comes with you will also pay the fee. So just plan accordingly, have a few bucks on you for that. You'll be directed to the paddock area and told where to park. Please follow any instructions given to you about where to park. We have a lot of people to fit into a relatively small area. And so if you have like a big camper, for example, we might tell you to park somewhere different than someone who just has a car. So just pay attention to those instructions.
Yep. And also set up your area behind your vehicle as opposed to beside your vehicle or beside your tow vehicle and trailer. Just because we are limited on space and we have a lot of people to pack in a small space.
Yep. Yeah, just be considerate. Don't take more space than you need to.
Yeah.
And then once you're there, you're going to get your car ready for tech inspection, and then you will go through tech, which will be marked with signs.
That's right. So tech, first thing I'd like you to do is start by emptying out your car, have it ready the same as it would be when you're racing. So you need to have your wheels and tires on that you're going to race with. Car needs to be empty, driver floor mat needs to be out, and then have your helmet with you. And then when they get there, they're going to check you and make sure your battery's secure, that your throttle is returning on cars that aren't drive-by-wire. They're going to, check the wheels, make sure that, they're not wobbling around in your wheel well, those sort of things. Make sure you have a good brake pedal. Okay. One more thing we're going to check is we're going to check for lights for this event because it is a night race. So we are going to check that you have headlights and that you have taillights. And then we're also checking to make sure your hazard lights work. So those cars that are mod that may have removed their lights, we're not requiring you to have hazard lights, but you do have to have a taillight and you do have to have headlights. We'll talk about the hazard light procedure usage later when we cover red flag stuff. But a aftermarket light bar, headlights, whatever you want to call them, are acceptable in lieu of regular headlights. Or you could try and use your regular headlights. It will tell you you probably want auxiliary lights out there. The stadium part is lit, but as soon as you get out of the stadium, you just go straight into pitch black. So it's nice to have it. Stock class, you are allowed to add aftermarket lights to your car. You just can't cut a bunch of stuff away to do it.
Yeah. And so the lights are required for the night portion of the event.
Correct.
If you get to the event and you don't have properly functioning lights, we will still let you race during the day portion.
That's correct.
But it's just not safe for you to race at night without lights.
That is correct.
Yep.
Yep.
So once you pass tech inspection, which you will with flying colors, you're going to come check in at timing. What we will do is check your driver's license, make sure you're a valid driver. We're going to check the number on the side of your car and make sure it matches what you registered with. If it doesn't, we'll make an adjustment, but your numbers do need to be on your car for tech inspection and check-in. And then that's it. We send you on your merry way. At that point, you should take time to walk the course. Hannegan is one of the venues where walking the course is required before the race, which is why we have an extra 30-minute period for walking the course only. You'll see it on the schedule. But When you finish checking in, take that time, walk the course multiple times. It is a safety issue. It's really important that you know the course, especially with night racing, but just please do that before we go hot.
Yes, it's really important. If you go out there without walking the course, you're going to put yourself and the workers at risk. So please take the time to go out there and walk the course.
Yep. So once you're finished with your course walk, once everyone's done, depending on your setup, whether you're racing or you're working first, if you race first, you will then get to grid and get lined up, follow the instructions of the grid workers about where to line up. If you're working first, excuse me, you'll come check in at the timing tent, you'll get your work assignment, and you'll get a yellow vest, an orange vest, and we'll send you out on course. Your day will be a little different than most normal race days because we have the 2 race sessions. So you will, during the day, have a race and a work session. We'll take an hour dinner break, and then you'll have a race and a work session at night. We're planning to end around 10:45 with awards at 11 p.m. So it's going to be a pretty late night. So just know that going into it. You talk a little bit just about general safety stuff.
Yeah, sure. So, as per usual, no guns, no alcohol, no drugs, the course, those of you who haven't ever been to a rallycross, is marked out with cones. When you watch the video, you will see how that's all laid out, a lot like autocross. Penalties get called in by the comm captains. So you have a penalty for hitting a cone and missing, and all the times are cumulative, including with the penalties. There are no throwaways, so each run counts, so make them count. Also, the scoring is available through local Wi-Fi.
Yep, we have signs at timing telling you how to connect to it.
Yep.
So you do your run, you get a time, we enter any penalties, and all your times add up throughout the course of the day.
That's
and
right.
You can access them from your
That's
phone.
right. So when comes time to race and you're at the start line, there's 2 things that we need to make sure that you guys know what's going on. Some of these things we've covered because we've seen them in the past. First of all, you cannot have a cigarette in your mouth. Well, let me rephrase that. You can't have a lit cigarette. You want to have a regular cigarette, I don't care. But if it's lit, no, can't have a lit cigarette. You need to have your helmet on with the strap. Okay, seatbelt needs to be on as well. Your window has to be rolled up. You have 1 inch gap you're allowed wherever there is a person. So in the front 2 seats. If the driver, if there's a passenger, their window also has to be up to that same spot. You're not allowed passengers in the back seats, except for the parade lap. And what else here? No phones, no holding your phones. Okay, if we find that you're holding your phone out on course and the course worker sees it, they're going to red flag you and you're going to get a DNF. You as the driver are responsible for what happens in the car. So you can't use the excuse like, oh, they didn't know.
And to clarify, we're talking about if there's a passenger in your car and they're holding a phone or a camera.
So I'm going to just really clear. If you're driving and holding a phone, we were also red.
That's how you said it, but I just want to be clear. It's your responsibility to make sure your passenger is also.
I am talking. Yeah, no phone, no camera. You are allowed to have it like, one stuck to the dash or on mount. So you just cannot be holding it in your hand. Okay. And I don't want loose items in your car either, because any loose item in your car is absolutely going to end up under your brake pedal. It's Murphy's Law.
That's the way it works.
It's right straight where it's as soon as you go to hit the brakes, it's going to go right under there.
Yeah. So when you're out on course, if you see a cone down, what do you do?
Well, you have 2 choices. You can pretend like that cone didn't exist and just drive right on through, because that's basically how we see it. If that cone is out of place or down, that cone will not be counted against you. So you might take the opportunity to get in a fast lap, or you can stop out on course and point to the cone, make sure course worker sees you pointing, and then get back on your pony because somebody's coming behind you. and we will give you a rerun. If you get to the end of the course, you did not stop, you didn't point to the cone, and then you come and tell us, oh, by the way, at com 3, there was a cone down, I want a rerun, I will tell you no, and I'll call com 3 and tell them, by the way, you guys had a cone down. But you will not get a rerun. Only way you get that rerun is if you stop and point to the cone. So, yeah.
When you're out on course, you may get red flagged.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about this. There's 2 ways this can work this weekend. During the day, you will actually have a red flag like every other event. You will actually be holding, a physical flag in your hand. If red flag is called, it will be waved out there in front of you. If you see a red flag, you need to stop. You need to wait until a course worker comes up to you and tells you what to do. So they may tell you, drive the rest of the course at parade speed, or they may tell you turn around, take the shortcut back to start so we can get going as quickly as possible. But they will tell you what to do. Just come do a controlled stop. No need to lock up all 4, go spinning off course, just slow down, come to that stop. Now, if it's at night, we are going to use a flashlight. We have some special flashlights with traffic cones, directing cones on them. So think like the guys who guiding, the airplanes at the airport, there's a little cone on top that's lit up. Ours has a little switch at the top. We'll show you when you come pick them up. They change from green to red. You can actually change them to white also. If somebody punts a cone, you need to go looking for it. So we will operate with them all in green on, and if we call red flag, they will turn red. And if you're working course, you'll turn it to red, you'll wave it around. If they don't seem like they're stopping, then you can point it directly, the light directly at them, shine it, the red light in their face. If you see a red light out there, I want you to come to a stop. I want you to hold your foot on the brake pedal at night so that the rear tail light is on. So if somebody does come behind you for any reason, they can see you. Now, if you have an issue, a mechanical issue, during the day, we can usually see you like wave your hands and we know this person has a problem. And so let's, wave red flag. At night, we'll ask you to turn on your hazards. That will indicate to us that you are having an issue and that we need to shut down course behind you. If you're in mod class, you don't have a hazard light switch and lights, what I want you to do is I want you to put your foot on and off the brake pedal in a consistent pattern so that it flashes as if it is like a hazard light, and that will be our indication that you're having an issue.
Yep. Sometimes you don't know you're having an issue and you will get red flagged. For example, if you have a D bead.
Correct.
We'll talk about what to do there.
So if you have a D bead, we're going to give you red flag. If you see somebody driving with a D bead, give them red flag. D bead is the tire has come off of the rim because of a loss of air pressure. Either it's been knocked off or slowly leaked out. We want you to red flag them because the car is already going to be listing to one side, and if that side digs in, it's very likely to promote a rollover. Additionally, if that car rolls over our start finish lines, it'll cut those cords, the cable, like we had at Rallycross Fest. Those of you who remember that. So that's the reason. So if you have a D bead, you get a red flag, they will figure out a way to get you back to your paddock, kind of as short path as possible. You will not be driving over the finish trigger. You have 10 minutes to, once you get back to your paddock, to get that tire reseated, changed, whatever you have to do, and get back to the start line. That first D bead will be a freebie. If you get a D bead, we'll red flag you, we'll send you back, you'll get a rerun on that first one only. If you get a second D bead, we will also red flag you, but you will get a DNF this time, and same on third, fourth one. So just be aware of that. If you don't get a D bead and you have a mechanical issue and you need to take the 10 minutes for fixing that mechanical. You also have that option. You have a 10-minute timeout. You can use it for any reason. It starts when you are supposed to be at the start line. And so if you have an issue, you go fix it and you get back in line before it's your time to go, then it does not get counted against you. However, in order for you to take the 10 minutes, you must go to either the grid captain or the timing captain and tell them that you're taking your 10 minutes. We are not going to magically be able to read your mind and know that you're taking the 10 minutes. You telling some other buddy in line also is not, we're not telepathic. They're not going to magically let us know. It's up to you to tell us, and then we'll keep track of that time. Again, the time doesn't start until you're supposed to be at the start line, and then your 10 minutes. One more caveat: if you use any of the 10 minutes, even if it's 30 seconds of the 10 minutes, you do not get the 9.5 minutes later. So when we say you have a 10-minute timeout, it means that you have up to 10 minutes. You cannot segment it. You can't use 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. It's a one-time deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about courseworking. So half of your day will be spent in a work assignment. Most of you will be out on the courseworking. You will come to the timing tent, get your work assignment, get a vest, and we'll send you out on course. On course, there are comm stations, and we group somewhere between like 2 to 4 people at each comm station to manage the area. Your responsibility when you're out there is to make sure cones get put back exactly in the place where they were supposed to be if someone hits them, and then also to call in penalties to timing. So if someone hits a cone, it gets radioed in to us at timing so we can count it. You will have a captain at your comm station who will have the radio and the red flag or the light. And so when you watch the Cone Basics video, you will see that there are hand signals. So be sure you and your captain have figured out how you're going to signal to them if someone hits a cone. It's really important that you know where your comm station stops and the next comm station begins, so that you only manage the cones you're responsible for. We don't want the same cone getting called in twice by 2 different corners because it wasn't clearly set out. So just be sure to talk to your neighbors. You will be responsible for red flags, as Keto talked about. So what's really important is that you always, as the comm captain, have your radio in your hand and can hear it, and you have the red flag in your hand or the flashlight in your hand at all times. If there's an incident and we call for a red flag and you have to run back to your bucket to get the red flag, that is a tremendous amount of time where, we could be stopping cars and instead we're creating more of a safety issue. So it's very important that you have that on you. As the comm captain, you will do a radio check when you go out on course. So you're out at your stations, you'll hear me at timing saying we're going to do a radio check. And all I'm looking to do is just confirm that everyone can hear me and that we have good communication back and forth. If you have any issues, you aren't sure about a cone, if you can't see something, whatever it might be, don't hesitate to radio in and let us know. Ask your question before we get going, just so that we're good for the race time. One last thing, when there is a red flag, a couple things. If you're the captain and someone stops in front of you and you're like, okay, well, the next car is going to catch them, I'm going to call in a red flag. Radio to us like comm 3, red flag, I have a car stopped at my comm station. Tell us very quickly and clearly what's going on. Or comm 3, a car has gone off course. If someone else calls in a red flag, please keep the airways clear. Don't radio in asking what you should do with the car at your comm station. Just listen for directions. We will give directions out. It's important that the airways stay clear for safety. If we need to send a vehicle out, that sort of thing. So,
that's right. Yeah. So what happens is that we may need to use the airwaves, for safety, and the cars getting back to grid are secondary. First, we need to make sure everything is safe, and then we'll worry about organizing everybody back after that. So if, and this does happen occasionally, if you hear that we start sending all the cars back and you have a car and say you're off out of sight back in the forest somewhere, and you hear cars being called back in and yours don't, yeah, please call in and say, hey, I have a car at my comm station. Usually we do check and say, hey, does anyone have any more cars out there? And then at that point you let us know. But if we don't, feel free to let us know. But please be aware that at first we're trying to get information, make sure everything's safe. And then we worry about the organization part of it after.
There's one additional responsibility for courseworking this time.
Water.
Want to talk about that?
Yeah. So similar to Albany, they have hoses out there and we water the course. What we want to not do is create a bunch of little mini lakes and ponds out on course. What we want to do is we want to water the surface so that it mitigates dust. We don't need to soak it all the way through. We do the soaking, in the middle of the night, midday, so on. We just need the surface to be wetted and dust to be kept down. Please be aware as a driver and as a course worker, when the water comes down, it does get a little more slippery. So cars are more likely to hit cones. And as a driver, you're also more likely to hit cones. So just understand that when that surface gets wet, it gets a little more slippery. So, and that's also another reason not to create huge, mud puddles out there as well. So
yeah, we're just trying to control the dust.
Yeah,
a little sprinkling.
Yeah, and like Albany, we probably will be watering in sections due to the fact that the pump can't handle all the stations watering together.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be a super hot weekend though, so we might not even be watering too much.
Yeah, we probably won't have too much watering.
Some random things about this event. One, dogs are normally not allowed at Hannegan. They make an exception for us. They've had a few bad experiences with having dogs on site. So in order for your dog to attend, they must always be on a leash and someone must be holding that leash. It's really important that we follow their rules so that we can continue to have dogs there. There is
one thing real quick.
Yes.
You are allowed to, tie the leash off like a tether,
Sure.
At your site. You don't have to have hands on, but that dog, your dog has to be secured. We cannot have dogs running around on leash but loose. That's not
It doesn't meet the
acceptable.
rules.
Yeah. And so, and if we get stuff like that, they may just ask us next year, no dogs, and that'll just mean no one can bring them. So let's not ruin it for everybody.
Yeah. There, like we said, there will be a lot of people camping. Please be sure to be respectful. Also, just be sure to leave the area cleaner than you found it. So pick up after yourself, pick up after other people if you need to. We just want to treat that venue super well, just like any of the other ones.
Yeah.
There is a $10 gate fee, like we said, cash only. You will get a wristband at the gate. Wear that wristband for the whole weekend, and you only have to pay the gate fee one time. And then just a pro tip, because we will be racing at night, bring lights. So a headlamp is really great. Flashlights are great. Those shop lights that you can hang from your hood are great. You'd be surprised. It gets pretty dark out there. So
yeah, you definitely want to have lights for your paddock area, especially if you end up having to do any work.
Yep. And then both days, New Whatcom Pastries will be on site with pastries and coffee in the morning. So know that. Come prepared to eat pastries and drink coffee. There's lots of good restaurants and stores and stuff in the area for lunch and dinner, but for pastries, we have you hooked up.
Yeah. And let's also remember that we end pretty late. We don't, want people racing off after races ever. But, that late at night, the Bellingham police are going to have nothing better to do than sit down there at the end of the road and wait for you guys to do something silly. So let's be good neighbors. Let's take it easy when we're leaving there,
And on that note, we are ending late. We'll probably do awards around 11 p.m. So you can camp Friday night before race day. You can camp Saturday night at the end of Saturday race day if you want to leave Sunday morning. Same with Sunday night. You can actually camp Sunday night and leave Monday morning. We'll be cleaning up on Monday morning too. So it's totally fine to do that. If it's safer for you to sleep there and then leave in the morning, that's great. And it is easier to hook up a truck or trailer when you can see.
Generally.
Okay, lastly, the least fun topic of all time, COVID protocols. Lots of uncertainties right now. So here's our ask. When you are outside and you're kind of by yourself, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're close to people, just throw one on. let's be really, really considerate and cautious.
We would like you to have a mask on anytime you come up to the timing tent.
Please.
We also ask that when you're out on course, you bring a mask with you, because if we do have a red flag and you have to go up to a car and talk to them, I'd like you to throw a mask on, because you're probably going to have to get into the window to, communicate with them, them having a helmet on and a car running and all that stuff. So, just bring one with you to throw on. You don't have to have it when you're out there working, standing out in the middle of nowhere with no one within 100 feet of you. Kind of silly. So, but have one in your pocket that you can throw on if you gotta go tell somebody or talk to somebody.
Yep. And if you have a passenger in your car who doesn't live with you, that's great. Just wear masks, please.
Both of you, yes.
It's just important. We want to make sure everyone stays safe and we take care of each other. So, and then lastly, if you have any questions, you can send us an email, info@nwrallyassociation.com, or you can reply to the driver email I sent. It's Katie@NW
Please do that before like Thursday night. We're usually setting up, getting the trailer hooked up, loaded up, all that stuff. And honestly, on Friday when we're down there working, we're not going to be able to get to stuff and answer stuff. And you honestly might not hear anything from us until Monday or Tuesday night, So, try and get any questions or anything taken care of before that.
Yep. Yeah. Once we're on site Friday, you probably won't get a response. So thank you for making it through this delightful, entertaining drivers meeting video. If this is your first time or maybe your second time, take a minute and watch the cone basics video too, just to brush up on how to read cones and how to call them in. If you have any questions, send us an email. And otherwise, we will see you all over the weekend.